Good morning, Dan Siegmann here, and just have some quick things to run through. There's some information in front of you of some material you should have gotten already, but I want to make sure you get it again about Free and Dodge. I'm here representing hundreds of people that are a member of Free and Dodge and some hundreds more that aren't a member that can't make it, especially at meetings at Monday morning at 8 o'clock. But I want to just reference one item on the agenda first, and that is the resolutions from other counties. As I took a look at that, I'd say please be careful, because it sounds like it's environmentalists fighting the American farmer again. We have a lot of farmers in Dodge County, so I wasn't able to look at all the information on it, but I want you to just be wary of that. Specifically now, as there's many people here that would like to address this issue about rights violations, constitutional freedoms, and so on, I urge you to always keep your oath of office front and foremost in your minds, and the resolution 20-14 of reaffirming that, which is going to be very instrumental in what happens here. The reason people are uncertain is because there's so much silence. Nobody knows exactly who's thinking what. Everybody's been tucking things away or hiding things and not talking about things, and that's why everybody has concerns. And the main concern then is because we believe that there's only a few supervisors that really care about protecting the citizenry, and that as they conduct government business, this is what should be first and foremost on their mind. Specific items on the agenda that I'd like to address, actually specifically to each individual member of the executive committee. Supervisor Schaefer, you don't really say much about any items that come on the agenda here in front of discussion. But the reason we, the people, especially in the district, are very concerned is because when we do talk to you, we receive things like, I don't want to hear anything that you really have to say about this, and I'm not interested in what you think, and I'll read it myself and excuse me, make up my own decision. We have a hard time saying that's what a supervisor and our representative should be like. So that's a concern for us. Supervisor Froley, thank you for all your work. We were just together at the Highway Commission meeting. I appreciated how you took funds from the equipment purchase fund and diverted it to highways just to try to make things a little more reasonable. Our concern here is, as you have heard, the WCA and what it is about. And I know you are on the board of directors at the WCA, that you support their work, and excuse me, everybody here probably does too. Agenda item number 10, the recommendations and guidance that are going to be viewed here. We're going to see, if you look at the materials I gave you, that they actually violate the Constitution, the rights and the freedoms that we are to enjoy. It encourages bigger government, and whenever government gets bigger, our rights get diminished. And once government continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger, you suddenly have socialism. There's no people's rights at all. So we have to guard against that thing happening. I also understand that the Wisconsin County Association passed resolution, what do they call it, 2020 Conference Resolution number 6, in which they are requesting the Wisconsin State Legislature to change the law to not allow parents to make personal decisions to raise their children based upon their personal convictions and personal beliefs. Why would the County Association make that resolution number 6? To quash the opt-out rule for parents when they want to raise their children, their own children. The state is going to take and remove that freedom and right of raising children and recommend that to the Wisconsin State Legislature. I question who's really behind all that. And this spring, I believe they passed a resolution to show support for Marxist, anti-American, anti-family, anti-law and order, anti-police organization which has caused violent riots and burned down cities. And they supported them this spring with a resolution or such like that. And we were supposed to trust their guidance. I think we need to protect the best interest of your constituents first. Supervisor Marsick, you've been caught in the middle of following leadership's general guidelines and doing what is, I believe, right for your constituency. Item agenda number 17, the declaration of local state of emergency. It was interesting that we're hanging on to this local state of emergency so we can continue to feed off the state trough of free money, grant money. We've been in this 8 months and there is no state of emergency. We haven't lived through one. Maybe you all have. I'm 62 almost, and I can remember polio and things like that. But everybody pretty much that's around in Dodge County of the youngers have never lived through a local state of emergency, a real emergency, and this has been sort of pushed on them as that. but we have to get away from that. Free money is never free. There's always a give and take. And as I looked at the money through the CARES Act, that funding has been extended. You can apply for more funding now in areas, contact tracing and associated activities that weren't covered are all of a sudden now being covered again. So we see how government is moving things through and getting you to come to their trough to take their money, but it has to specifically be used against the citizenry. It is of concern to us, and that's why we are here too. We do not want to sell out the freedom and rights of the constituency. Supervisor Kotke, agenda item number 13, County Board Rule 14 has been a thorn in the flesh of many people, and we have changes coming to it today. Basically, it is unconstitutional on its face if you understand the Constitution and representative government. One individual, no matter who he is or what position they are in, should never be able to make a decision for the whole county, in this case, when all the people's supervisors are present in the room to be able to make that decision in a representative kind of way. So rather than try to change this, just get rid of it. It really isn't needed. That's why we have representative government. Because as I looked at the changes, I don't believe it would have made any difference anyhow with what happened in June. So we have to continue to look first and foremost primarily at our constituency as we do our government business. Supervisor Filbert, he took an oath of office, but he voted against Resolution 20-14, which reaffirmed that oath of office, which is the most important part of our responsibility as a supervisor. Why did you vote against it? You plainly said it's because of a specific reason. It didn't specifically mention support for a Marxist, anti-American, anti-family, anti-law and order, anti-police organization which held violent riots and burned down parts of our cities. And so therefore you weren't going to vote for it. And that is of great concern for us, and I would say especially for your constituency, because that's your main job, is to protect their rights. So why the special mention? They are already in that. They already have their rights protected. So why the special attention? We don't know. Also, your derogatory remarks on the sheriff's business Facebook page, that's not something a leader should do in a county against the sheriff. It's not how it should be run. So we would like your politics to not get involved with this position because it's supposed to be nonpartisan position. Supervisor Sheehan Malloy, you do understand what it means to be a representative. I appreciate that. You listen to people and you talk with them. I've talked to many other individuals who have had conversations with you, and they believe you're really listening and you want to know. You are fiscally responsible. We see you fighting for getting rid of waste. It hasn't made you popular, but that is what we are looking for also. Agenda item number 10, those kind of things you supported in the past, and I believe personally you're in a battle between public safety and protecting rights and fiscal responsibility. It's sort of hard, and we want to continue to encourage you to do those things, but also encourage you to open your mind to grasp what the Constitution is about and how public safety and those kind of things are important, but protecting the rights and freedoms of the individuals are even more important, and they both can be done at the same time, but in the right order. So that we appreciate also, and Supervisor Schmidt, I see hasn't been able to make it. I see, and he's not quite where we would like to see him when it comes to spending money. But you know what's most important, where he is spot on? He is for the people, protecting their rights, protecting their freedoms, and that's while he's doing government business. That's his priority. And so we thank him for that. So why are the people all concerned? As I've seen here, and as we've seen here, 5 of the 7 members of the executive committee, which is the leadership, the steering wheel that turns the Board of Supervisors, we believe really aren't aware enough of what the primary responsibility is that they have due to their oath of office and the resolution that was passed. We have to change that WCA guidance. You saw 60 pages of stuff. And what happened on page 5, the end of the first paragraph, it's a disclaimer. If you do and follow any of this guidance that we have presented, we are not going to be held responsible. You have to watch out for yourself. Why would they do that? I just say, in common man's lingo, it's a bunch of slippery lawyers that have put this together and have saved their butts. Okay, it's all placed on you. And that's because it is a problem. It is unconstitutional on its face. Also, as I have given you other items of middle of September, I sent you 2 pieces of information. This is one that's in front of you. Another one is about the WCA's guidance. So, page 4, it says the committees were guided by 4 principles. Did you notice in those 4 principles how much of the Constitution was mentioned? Zippo. The 5th principle should have been, how do we keep a health and welfare ordinance constitutional? They knew it was there because throughout the whole ordinances, throughout the whole recommendation and guidance, they're trying to skirt around constitutional issues and not meet them. That is what I see as I went through it. They bring up Jacobson in Massachusetts as the primary case law that says we have to do this. Have any of you ever read Jacobson versus Massachusetts? It's an old one. The city in Massachusetts, I got it here. City of Cambridge, their board adopted wasn't a resolution, it's called a regulation that forced vaccination of smallpox on everybody that hadn't been vaccinated within the past 5 years at that time. And then they passed another one that gave a local physician the authority to carry out that one. And the court ruled on the side of the state for 2 basic reasons. And there's more to it, but the 2 basic reasons were, since the regulations had been put in place prior to this happening, there was some teeth in it, and then this fella, Jacobson, had a problem, and he had to abide by it. Another problem was, when Jacobson went to the court, he did not have any expert witnesses to validate what he was saying are the reasons that he shouldn't have to take it. Today, it is over 100 years later. This decision is ripe for being overturned. Do not plant your feet on it. We have expert witnesses that they didn't have back then that will prove that what he had said and was worried about is true today. And we in Dodge County do not have this ordinance in place to give any teeth to any kind of orders, and that's what we the people are fighting here. We do not want to see one in place. The same reason that Andrea Palm was defeated is the same reason that we do not have any way to enforce the illegal activities that Governor Evers is pulling right now. So there's plenty of things different, and those are some concerns that I've had there. Was there anything else? Just as a conclusion, I have a federal court waiting if we have to hear a case about right violations and constitutional freedoms being violated. 3 years ago, a State Department backed me into a corner with conditions similar to what's going on here. And we went to federal court against them. And the court sided with me because I had not only provided the evidence that it happened, but because I had forewarned them that this was going to violate my civil rights. If I wouldn't have warned them, they would have been a lot harder to win. But I did, and they had to pay all the bills because their oath of office demanded that protection, and they decided they were just going to roll right over we the people. You can't do that in a constitutional form of government. So you have been warned multiple times kindly. And this ordinance needs to not go any further. The WCA guidance is trash. It needs to be deep sixed. The judicial remedy will be pursued because the courts are there for we the people. The courts aren't there for government. The courts are there to protect we the people from the government. And when you leave this room, you are we the people also. Right now, you're sitting here with no rights. When you take this government office, you enter a fictional position that is not real. It's created by we the people. And we are forming this government and have formed it for these reasons. So I urge you to reevaluate how we do business in Dodge County, because it could be a lot better for everybody. Thank you.
said it all.